everybody. Today I'm doing a baking video. And this is just a test video to see if this idea will work. So I haven't written a script. I haven't planned what I'm gonna say. Haven't done anything. I'm just going for it. But like I said, we're making milk chocolate M&M cookies that are the red, white, and blue mix. And the reason I'm making them is because I've been doing Bible camp this week. And I wanted to make something to give to the volunteers who do the skits for the preschool drama. So we can be patriotic and we can love Jesus all at the same time. Alright, let's get started. My best friend Ruthie here is going to be helping in this video by standing on the floor and hoping that I'm going to drop something. Won't you, Ruthie? For this recipe, we are going to be using 1/3 cup white sugar, half a cup of brown sugar, 1½ cups to 1 1/3 cups flour, half a cup of butter, which is the equivalent of 1 stick, 1 egg, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, half a tablespoon of vanilla, and this is a whole tablespoon, but I don't have a half tablespoon measure, so that's what we're doing, and 2/3 cups of the M&Ms. Next thing we're going to do is melt our butter. And before we do anything actually melting it, I like to chop the butter up in smaller pieces so that it's easier to melt. Next, put your butter in your mug or your bowl or whatever it is that you're going to use to melt it in. I use these little coffee mugs, but you can use pretty much anything. Stick it in the microwave for about 15 or so seconds. Now, as you can see, it's not all the way melted, but I usually just soften it a bit and then grab a fork and kind of smash it down to help it move along its way. Okay, now we have melted butter, which looks disgusting. When I first started baking and I did this, I was like, why do I even want to put this in my mouth knowing that this is in these cookies? But I promise it tastes good. Next thing we're going to do is measure out the brown sugar and the white sugar. Okay, so now we get to use the mixer. Ooh, pretty. We're going to add in the melted butter, which is disgusting, like I said. The sugar, white sugar, just keep trying to sugar, and the brown sugar, which we remembered to pack in when we measured and not just lightly pour it, because that's what you do with brown sugar. Now we turn on the mixer and cream this around until it's mixed. Here's what this should look at this stage, and again, it's still pretty gross looking. Next, we're going to add the egg and vanilla to that same mixture. Guys, I cracked the egg with the tripod up so it would be on camera, but it wasn't filming, and now the egg's already in there, so I can't redo it, and the moment is lost. I'm sorry. Anyway, now we're going to add the vanilla. And turn on the mixer again and leave it running until the egg is just barely combined in. You don't want to overwork it at this point. And there's the finished product. Next we're going to add the flour, baking soda, and salt. And because I'm stupid, I forgot to put the baking soda in the beginning, but there's also baking soda. Alright, now flour is my oldest enemy in baking because I always spill it everywhere. I'm terrible at measuring it correctly. But the strategy I use is to spoon it into your cup, and this is probably going to spill at some point in this, so be prepared and don't laugh at me too much. Because if you just scoop your whole cup into the bag, it'll get packed in, and you don't want that with flour. You want it to be very lightly in the cup. You can kind of shake it to get it to spread out. Do that until it's almost a little over full. And now you can take a knife and run over it like this so that it's level. I know it's spilling, don't judge me. And there you go, you have 1 cup of flour, but this recipe needs 1½ cup or 1 2/3 cups, depending on how things work out. I think it was closer to a half the last time I made it, and I just added a little more spoon, but didn't measure it properly, so we'll see. So we're adding in the 1 cup of flour, Right now it looks like there's a lot of flour and not very much of the other stuff, but once it combines, it'll actually need more flour. Here's what the dough looks like with 1 cup of flour. It's pretty sticky still, so we're gonna add another 1/2 cup. Okay, next we're going to add the salt and the baking soda. And I took the bowl off of the mixing thing because I don't like to do this part on the mixer thing. Got 1/2 teaspoon of the baking soda and 1/4 teaspoon of the salt. And now we're just gonna combine that in. Now the last part is the fun part, the M&Ms. I totally didn't just use a knife to open a bag of M&Ms, but we're gonna pour these into the 2/3 cup. And then, pretty colors, add them to the bowl. And mix that around until they're sufficiently combined, but don't go too crazy because you don't want to like break them up. I think that's more of a problem with chocolate chips. If you do it too hard, then they'll break. Or like if you're putting fruit into something. This is so pretty, look at this. I love finished cookie dough. And that's all that you're doing for the dough. Now we get to roll the cookies into the balls and put them on the baking sheet. So you're gonna want about this much. This might be too much actually, let me see. Just roll it up. Oh, this is pretty good actually. And stick it on the sheet. You don't need parchment paper or spraying it or anything for this recipe. Some recipes you do, not this one. So just keep doing that until you fill your sheet. Make sure they're apart from each other enough that they won't hit each other when they expand out in the oven. I usually do like 3 or 4 in a row, depending on the size of the cookie. And I'll catch up with you guys when I'm done with that. Okay, here we have the finished sheet of cookies. I only put 9, but if you make them, depending on the size of your cookie sheet or how big you make the balls, you can probably fit 4 in a row and do 12. And the next thing you're gonna do is put them in the oven and bake them for 10 minutes or 12, depending on your oven. But like I said, my oven runs hot, so I always go with the lower amount of time they say. There they go, my children. We'll meet again. Also, you can't forget the most important step, which is eating the dough off of this thing. So here they are out of the oven. So next what you're going to do is just let them sit on here for a bit. Otherwise, if you try to take them off right away, they'll stick to the pan. Then moving over to the cooling rack. I already did the 2 batches, so that's why there's the second batch. There's the first batch. And then you're done, and you have your patriotic M&M cookies. Woo! What do you think of the cookies? Seal of approval? Nice. And that's the end of the recipe. So I hope you guys enjoy this. If you do try it. Obviously I'm not a professional or anything, as you can probably tell from all the mistakes that were in this. But I like baking and it's fun and I like giving people things that I make. So I do it a lot, and this chocolate chip cookie recipe, or now M&M, whatever you want to put in it, is my favorite of the ones I've tried so far. So hopefully we'll see you next time, since this wasn't a complete failure. Have a great day.